Hi, this is Ashishat Bedekar and welcome to my podcast, The ARB Show. I'm thrilled to introduce today's guest, Nicole. Nicole is a world-renowned game developer and designer who has pioneered measuring emotions on players' faces as they play. She helps companies increase engagement by putting the four keys to fun. That's a framework created by her that involves hard fun, easy fun, people fun, and serious fun. She was voted by VentureBeat and Gamasutra as one of the top 20 women working in video games, and by Fast Company as one of the top 100 most influential women in technology. Nicole is frequently cited by Wired, Fast Company, ABC News, CNET, Hollywood Reporter, TED, MWC, Unity Developer Days, New York Times, Game Speed. She has her own firm called XEODesign, and her clients include Sony, Meta, Disney, EA, Ubisoft, Trip, IBM, Government of Singapore, and the White House. She has an undergraduate degree in psychology from Stanford University, where she also studied filmmaking and computer programming. A couple of her illustrious accomplishments include creating the VR/AR benchmark engagement framework, the four keys to fun framework, which I mentioned earlier. She was first to measure emotions on people's faces in games with micro expressions. She designed the first iPhone game, which had over 1 million downloads, created Tilt World or iOS game, first body grammar for camera games, and her design and research has improved over 1 billion player experiences, several popular franchises for casual audiences like Miss Series, Dinner Dash, and The Sims. She's an internationally recognized expert, and we are really very honored to have her on the show. Over to you, Nicole, and look forward to your vision for your design and hearing from you on the top 5 trends in XR. Over to you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here. As I was we were just chatting before the show, I'm fresh off of the Vision Dev Camp, which was one of the first hackathons for people creating applications for the new Apple Vision Pro. So, and we just had GDC, so Games Developer Conference. So great to be here. So I guess I think that there are so many trends happening now in XR, and it seems every morning I wake up to something new that we want to talk about. But I thought I would look at, given the audience for this podcast, sort of, my top five trends, and hopefully we can stick to 5. But the first one has to be for trends in XR. Since I come from a UX background, I've done a lot of innovative things in addition to emotion analytics on the face. Is that really the top trend in XR is there are no wimps in the metaverse. There's no wimps in XR. And by that I mean there are no windows, no icons, no mice, no pointers, and no solo play. Because with XR, we have these experiences are created from these new kinds of cameras that, see into the real world for AR or into a virtual world for, more VR, fully occluded experiences or hybrids. And so with that, we actually have, it's like artists have a new palette. In a sense, artists have created things with like a box of crayons with 3 colors, a red, a green, a blue. And we've made amazing experiences that way. But now in XR, we have this, this fourth crayon, a depth one, one that goes in and out. And if you don't have that in every layer of your experience, it really doesn't feel like XR. It feels like, a wet newspaper, plastered to your face. So that's a very important thing. So we want to look at, where can we take this, when I work with clients, where can we take this experience and add depth to it? So instead of windows, we want worlds to explore. Instead of, pointing and clicking with mice and and a mouse and stuff like that, mouse and icons and stuff like that. We really want hand and object interaction. So we want to, at the Vision Pro hackathon, they had this like snap and fire comes out of your thing, out of your fingers. Those kinds of magical moments. Or in training, XR training, you want to be in surgery doing it. There's this lovely starter app on Vision Pro where you can look at the constellations in VR, and then you can grab Taurus or Gemini from the sky and then examine that constellation. Then you get a readout, and just that physical manipulation gives you, it's activating new areas of your brain, and then it's creating these new kind of deeper experiences. That's true. We're working on we do client consulting, which is two skis. One is the client consulting through XEODesign. I also have an independent game company called XeoPlay, and we are creating a game called Follow the White Rabbit Tales, which is soft launched on the Apple Vision Pro. And in it, we created these escape rooms that surround you, and you want to make sure that these aren't, again, like it's happening all around you. You're pulling clues from all around. We turn your room into a Paris cafe in 1889, or a 20-room Victorian mansion where the fabulous steel diamond has been stolen. And you want those clues to come to you, and you want puzzles that where perspective and depth matter. So those are really some really important components with creating new kinds of interfaces.
Got it. So, I mean, the key learning for the audience would be that, like with any new technology trend or any new platform, you have to rethink the constraints or rethink what you can do, right?
You have to rethink what you do, and then also take advantage of what you can do.
Exactly.
And maybe you can't do everything, right? So like pick one or two new things that deliver enough, a significant more value than they did on a pancake, monitor, right? Or just a cell phone. So they deliver so much value that it's worth, strapping a box onto your face at the moment, because they don't quite look. I do have the Snap AR glasses, but they're not quite this form factor. They're quite a bit heavier.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's the classical thing that whatever Apple does, it takes the industry to the next level, because AR glasses have been around for quite some time. But with Vision Pro, there's a new amount of enthusiasm in the industry, right? What can I do with Vision Pro? And so essentially that was a great comment on great insight as to you need to rethink what you can do, how you can do it different, and not just do the same stuff what you were doing for a 2D game or for a screen. That would look very odd, as you rightly mentioned.
It was just like I've been in business for 30 years, so a consultant for 30 years. And when I started, this thing called CD-ROMs had just happened. And we had millions of books that were translated onto a CD-ROM. And it's like, okay, I've got a computer screen, and now I am just page turning.
Right.
No, we need new metaphors, new design language that works in XR, which it's to spatialize it.
Right. Great. What would be the next trend which you would like to cover?
Yeah, well, let's continue on with the next one. Again, I think it is, talking about Apple Vision Pro. I think that has kickstarted from I was there at WWDC in June when they announced it, which was amazing. Muppet level excitement for me, because I've been waiting for so long for it. And then to the actual release, which was which was February 2nd. Yeah, so now almost 2 months. Yeah, 2 months ago. And what it's done is it's kickstarting a new era of XR, AR, VR, spatial computing, whatever you want to call it, metaverse, and that first of all, it's like a new big player. They're one of the largest companies on the planet, and they have amazing hardware with a very large devoted fan base with high quality. And so the high quality of especially the displays is now causing like the rest of the industry to catch up. So on one hand, the Vision Pro was like a validation of the market. So like, well, if Apple sees opportunity here, well, maybe we should, think about launching our headset. And then the quality of the Vision Pro has then, Samsung pulled their next gen headset off the production line. Like it was already in manufacturing. They pulled it in order to make changes like up-resing their screen. And then in the investment community, we see a lot more activity in investing in XR startups, XR platforms, XR content, for Vision Pro and for other systems. So it's definitely having a bit of a flywheel effect for that new era.
Yeah. Also, just wanted to understand from you, one of the big criticisms of the XR headsets was that you can't use it for quite a long time, right? After 25 minutes, you generally start getting headaches. But I'm told that with with the Vision Pro, you don't have that challenge. So you can kind of use it for slightly longer time as well without any problems. So what was your experience on that?
Oh yeah, well, I was can't really say much about it, but I was really lucky to be invited to Cupertino for their Apple Labs before hardware launch. So, and that was amazing. So I've been using it for or I have had experiences, going back even before the official launch. And but what we see in the consumer device is this is what I can talk about, which is the one I have here on my desk. So basically it's been an amazing developer experience because on one hand, I'm looking in, follow White Rabbit. I'm in the middle of like a London Victorian mansion, and I'm like, where's that piece of lint coming from? And so I clean the lens. No, it's still there. And then I okay, well, it must be attached to that object. So I go back into Photoshop and I'm like, okay, it must be a mask problem. And I'm zooming in to Photoshop and zooming in more on my laptop, Photoshop. I cannot see it. I cannot see the lint or the little artifacts there. And then I realized it's like, wow, the lenses on the display on the Vision Pro 4K per eye is higher resolution than my laptop. So now I have to buy a bigger monitor in order to work with it. And the frame rate is super high. The pass-through video is the highest quality I've seen. If you have had a chance to get some of those really high-end headsets like the Vario, those displays are, and I haven't done it side by side. I haven't tried the Vario since I've tried the Vision Pro, so I can't really benchmark between them. But they are, if you can imagine the highest resolution headset you've tried, and it's up there, and it's a device that you can get, which is really good. I find it really comfortable, and that I really like the snuggy band in the back, the little sweatery kind of band, and then I add my own little strap over the top of the head for when I'm wearing it. It's amazing as a second display or third display, because when I put my laptop on the Vision Pro, which is one of the things I do, you can really get in, and that text and those pixels are just super crisp.
Fantastic. That's really great to know, because one of the comments by many experts was the fact that having the tight integration between the AVP and the MacBook or the overall Apple experience create more opportunities to use. So you're not at a loss. So even the normal business guy is not at a loss to say, okay, I'm not a gamer. What can I do with this? So when you start with that premise, then you are kind of expanding the overall opportunity for new use cases to be created or ideated. That was fun.
Absolutely. And it's a wonderful, middle seat solution on an airplane, because you can be, you don't have to have the laptop in the weird tray thing, you could be, or whatever, you don't have to because it's never that big or whatever. You can broadcast your laptop to the Vision Pro, and then you can have 40, 50-inch displays. I forget how big they are, in the middle of an airplane. Or what I do is I will put in the environment, so I can be at, Joshua Tree or middle of a snowy Yosemite, instead of, instead of uncomfortably crammed between my fellow human beings. So it's quite amazing in that regard.
Great. So what are the next other trends you would like to cover?
Well, I think that the next one would be for XR is the new, some of the new AI technologies that are coming out. And what's happening in the AI with large language models and other neural learning things especially these layered models, is it's giving us, I think on the high level, it can be confusing, but on the high level, I like to think about it, or when I'm working with our clients, talk about, is it's really bringing us new forms of input and new forms of output. So new forms of input might be that you can have your voice as input, you can have text as input instead of pushing a button, if you remember the no wimps thing that we talked about earlier. So instead of pushing a button or icons and menus, which we're used to using, you can use your voice, and your voice can then be converted to text, and the software could understand that and then give you an input back. And other forms of input are interesting as well, because you can use more elaborate gestures. You can also have the input be your physical surroundings. So world understanding, body understanding, voice, sentiment understanding can all be new forms of input. And then the thing that's getting a lot of buzz the past year, of course, and we've been, using things like tools like Midjourney and ChatGPT and stuff like that, is the different types of output. So instead of, I do some input and then I get a series of characters across the screen, like I'm word processing. Well, now I can get, full images, images, 2D images, 2.5D images, because you can create a little depth map. So you get this kind of interesting parallax effect in a 2D image. And then of course, full 3D models, where you can take a 2D image and you can generate a 2D image, and then you can generate a 3D model of that 2D image. It gets kind of meta there. But I think importantly to remember, and this is in my talk at TED.com. So if you look me up, I'm featured actually on the main website. And I've given talks at AWE, is that AI really it's a tool for humans to use. That's what computing is. That's the whole, because it's a tool for humans to use. It's about people. That's the most important thing about technology, because without people, what's the point? What's the point of doing anything? We can move the money around, right? But if we're not improving quality of life, if we're not giving people superpowers, from my standpoint, why would we do this? Right. And I think we can see, a lot of opportunity for, in XR training, for example. And there'll be new business models that are possible now. I can generate more art assets for my game than I know what to do with, for example. And there are going to be really interesting whole new businesses, just like the cell phone. We don't know. We're in that phase where we don't know whether it's Twitter or whether it's petfood.com, with the sock puppet. We don't know what's going to hit, right? Very well, or Uber, right? But we are having whole new services that are going to be provided with these new language models and tools.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just I want to touch on the point where you mentioned about how all these technologies need to have the human angle. There are many comments where it talks of a dystopian future wherein you've got AI agents talking to AI agents. Right, and that's how
it's
done. I mean, though that's one risk, but I think the bigger opportunity for humans, as you mentioned, is how can we make life better. It just occurred to me: is it possible that with the additional inputs possible, this actually becomes a very powerful tool for disabled? I'm just thinking aloud. For example, people who can't use traditional computing because of various disabilities. Now, imagine a person can just talk and experience computing, right? Or
absolutely.
I'm just thinking aloud. Maybe even for people who have some psychology or other issues, maybe with the positive reinforcement or things like that. I'm sure, as you mentioned, there'll be a lot of new things which we even haven't thought about. So it's really
definitely
exciting.
Yeah. So there are already, and there have been for some time, people augmented glasses type of headsets that help people with low vision. And so the earlier ones were doing kind of edge detection and amplifying the edges so that they could see kind of a cartoon version of the world when, instead of just so blurry, don't understand. So they could ramp that up. Probably many people have seen some of the viral videos of people with low vision going into an Apple store and trying the Vision Pro and then they could see for the first time. They didn't want to take it off, right? They could see quite a bit better than they could before. And then I think that there are other and then with some experiences, like with one of our rooms for our game for Follow the White Rabbit, we've been told that it's really good for autism because it's a VR room and you stand in the center, you can play in a swivel chair, you can play in a wheelchair, and you just turn your head to interact, and it can be very centering, very calming. And one of our clients is Trip, which is a meditation app that's in many of the headsets. And there are it is a great example of digital therapeutics where you can actually use these technologies to change your emotional states. And if you think of my model, the 4 keys to fun, it's serious fun. It's basically playing games to change how you think, how you feel, and how you behave.
Got it. Got it. So what were the other trends which you would like to cover? We talked about, how it's one, just to recap what we have covered so far. First was there was no whims. Then how AVP is kickstarting the new era of XR, AR, and spatial computing. And then you talked about how AI is bringing this new forms of input output. So yeah, so those were the three recap of the 3 trends which you mentioned. So what are the other 2 trends which you would like to cover?
Great. Yeah. So then I think it just a little segue onto what we were just talking about, because it gives us, XR can now, especially combined with AI, can give us new human capabilities and new forms of entertainment. You can have, we can think of it as having, real-time, information flow, but which is great, and that, so we can see the world and have an augmented AR, augmented reality, so we can have information that is augmenting what we see. There was a fun sticky note app, in the hackathon that we was just at for Vision Pro. But even more astounding was there was a protein folding app for Vision Pro in the hackathon, and then where it would take models of molecules. They would take the data, from the net and from the internet. You could put in caffeine or aspirin or something, and then it would visualize it like the ball and stick kind of model. And but some of these organic compounds are very complicated, so you could see it in 3D rotated around. There would be another molecule that you wanted to insert into that. You could break a couple of the bonds, see how that happened. And I'm not an organic chemist, so I couldn't, there's a lot more detail there. But then it would refold the thing for you. And so I think that's going to lead to the better ability, just like that star example of just being able to pull a constellation out and see it and then put it back. It's not out there remote symbolic. It's like in my hands, I can use it. It's going to really revolutionize the speed at which we're going to have drug discovery and with understanding certain types of diseases and body processes and stuff like that. On the entertainment side, we're really excited about some of the capabilities. So there's obviously the AI that's required for for getting the stereo vision, so it looks 3D. But meshing is so understanding the world, the geometry of the world, and then it will actually tag things. So with Snap AR, they had like 400 different tags. If you don't count types of dogs and cars. But they have so you'd have curtains and flowers and playground, and in addition to the standard vocabularies of 12 to 24 of wall and floor and lamp and chair, those kinds of things. And so you can imagine if you're having a escape room, which is what we're doing, it is you can go and you can actually make the mystery happen in your living room and contextualize the game mechanic, actually contextualize it to your living room so that you can play. You can play there. And there is, when you can generate that much art, then there will be, or content, there will be, on one hand, new kinds of game mechanics you can do, just because you can generate a lot more types of assets and, and design the game that way. You can also do these live games, which we're really interested in. We haven't shipped anything. Well, we did a chatbot. So there's a chatbot up on ChatGPT. It's an interactive Sherlock box. So it will actually tell you a Sherlock Holmes mystery with pictures and stuff like that. And it's choose your adventure. So you can choose I want to do this, I want to do that. But as we all know, if you've ever dungeon mastered a game, the players suddenly become fascinated with a flower pot or with a fireplace. And they want to go through the fireplace. The fireplace was just decoration in your plan for the game, but that's where they want to go. So it's okay, well, go get a snack, and then I create the fireplace experience. Well, a chat language model can generate those kinds of things on the fly. The challenge, though, of course, is that with many of these AI generated experiences, and when we're doing entertainment, you want to create something new. For the most part, once you're above a certain age, you really want new. You don't want to watch the same movie over and over and over again. And so the language models work. We think that they're smart. We think that they are actually talking to us. It feels like they're talking to us because they have like, what's the most likely, they predict like, what's the most likely sentence to follow this, or what's the most likely word, or of this topic, what are the most likely things to say? How do we break it down? But if you're in a movie, you don't want it to seem like just the same movie you saw last week. And you kind of get into this rut. Like I have a great example in the talk I did for Unity Developer Days. Is you have this I had this beautiful chess piece, and that's the AI like recognizing me, doing that stuff, which I didn't intend. So there we go. But yeah, with this chess piece, and then what the AI did is it created a 3D model, but it removed all of it was like carved out of ivory with really amazing swirls, assembled itself into a horse, a rook chess piece. And then the 3D rook was just a standard horse. It was a very nice horse head, but it lost all of the qualities that made that special. So it's there's a term for this in psychology called regression to the mean, regression to average. And so in entertainment, and then also your pitch deck, you don't want to regress to the mean. You don't want to be an average pitch deck. You want to be the outstanding pitch deck. You want to be the very surprising twist at the very end of this mystery that has everyone talking for months, right? That and AI is going to have a real challenge with doing. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that all goes. And then with entertainment, it is about creating. When we play games, for example, games are about learning. That's actually the biological function of play in mammals and many other animal species. And so you have to have that novelty. You have to have that twist. You have to have something that's going down. And so, like for us, with our game Follow the White Rabbit, it's about a magician whose magic one day suddenly works and the rabbit disappears. Wearing a diamond bracelet, so now everyone wants to follow the rabbit. So it's a series of escape rooms around the world, different places that I lived in when I was growing up. And I wanted to create that full body wonder I had as a kid, when I was climbing pyramids, riding camels, exploring fire temples. And to create that, so I asked chat, I asked a language model, like, well, what are the top 10 escape rooms, or give me 10 escape rooms. And so they gave me, it's like, okay, puzzles. So those look like good escape room puzzles. Okay, yeah, those would, except for that one, those would all work. Then I said, oh, give me 10 more. And it kind of, and then, wait, 10 more. And then it kind of just kept giving me this, the same things. So, as long as I was making a game that only had 10 puzzles in it, great. But if I had 20, or in our case, it's going to be hundreds of different puzzles, you're not going to be able to get that out of a language model. And then the other thing too is you want to be able to keep it in canon. So if you're in Star Wars universe, you don't want to be talking about Tachyon beings or Klingons, right? You don't want to mix Star Wars with Star Trek, which would be very easy for a model to do.
True. I mean that's blasphemy, right, for fans.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and then you trigger that war, right, between the two, and then that would be not good. And then you get a call from Disney. It's like, hey. Why are they talking about Mario in our Star Wars game? I don't understand.
True. Another thing, while all this is fine, any specific concerns which you may like to flag? Because one of the things, I tried to draw the analogy of smartphones and digital addiction, right? Because nowadays, in fact, yesterday I heard a podcast which talked of the same issue, wherein how digital addiction fueled by smartphones, right, is really changing people's mind in many ways. For example, they talk of how it's leading to, say, depression or other anxiety and other issues. Of course, anything in excess is bad, but do you foresee or do you feel that there are some regulations or guidelines or something required in AVP? It would, it's not, I'm not saying that whether it should be a government mandated, but more from a developer perspective that, okay, these are the guardrails which you should ensure, right? For while you're developing a game for AVP or any experience for AVP. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's not just AVP. It is any XR experience, right? And anything in the XR world, and actually any computer programming, any computer game, it's kind of boils down to like why we released the 4 keys to fun in the first place, why we did the original research. because we knew the game developers love psychology, and the psychology of the casino has been very well studied and documented, very accessible, and so you can create games based on those mechanics to create the feeling of like, the compulsion loops, the Skinner boxes to get you going. And there are lots of mechanics in games that do that, and lots of my 4 keys to fun kind of was one of the foundation research that led to better worse gamification. And but it boils down to what you want is what is the KPI? Okay, in the world's largest taxi company owns no cars. The world's largest hotel owns no rooms. Which is all the Web 2 on the business model side. With AI in a sense, like, will the world's largest corporations employ no people? And so when we're looking at that, and that's a pretty serious concern, the AI is paying other AIs, and it's just like this whole game, and then nobody's getting any food down here. The humans aren't getting any food or rent or whatever, or medicine or education. That's not the scenario we want. And similarly with what we're looking at is it's all boils down to what are your KPIs, and we need new KPIs. At the end of the day, a compulsion loop in a game is not fun. It's not fun if you feel like you have to play, right? If you feel compelled to play, it's very different than, I had a really great time I want to have, and then it leaves at the end of so a KPI for us is, when they go into the game bored, frustrated, angry, whatever, and if they go in that way and then they come out feeling happy, feeling connected to others, those are the metrics, those are the KPIs. You need those positively tied KPIs for your experience, and not just treating people like wallets with eyeballs, that go, or joysticks or whatever.
Got it. Thanks, Nicole. This gives a really great perspective, and it was a wonderful conversation. Thank you again. And thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in. Do subscribe, share, and like this podcast. Do consider giving us a 5-star rating if you like the content. Bye for now. Talk to you soon.